All right, what is going on, guys? Today, hopefully, I'm going to be able to depower the steering rack. I'm going to be using the steering rack out of that car, this car here. I need to get rid of this car soon. I pulled out the steering rack from this car. There's a lot of work to get it out. You have to take off the lower control arm and the sway bar, and you have to take off the strut. All that stuff has to come out. I already got it out here on the ground, and I'm just going to be taking it apart. The only video that's on YouTube right now, or even there's no forum information, but there's a video, and it's for a DSM in particular. It's like 30 minutes long. I'm hoping to get this video around like 10 minutes long and try to explain how to do the process with the 3000 GT. But this is my first time doing something like this. This is my first time pulling out a steering rack. So hopefully it all goes well. Hopefully it's pretty quick. I'm gonna record me taking out the old one in my car and putting this new one in, so that hopefully I can find a quicker and easier way to do it. Hopefully it only takes an hour to do the whole process once the steering rack is ready to go in the car. Okay, so here's the rack that I pulled out of my parts car. These are new, the tie rod ends are new, and I'm assuming the inner tie rods are new, but I'm gonna be taking off all these lines. I'm gonna be capping these lines here. I'm gonna figure out how to get this out. I'll have to take this off, there's 2 bolts, but I'm gonna go ahead and take off the inner tie rods along with the tie rod ends. I'll pick back up once I do that. So I got the 2 lines off. They go to either side of the pressure O-ring. I got the boots pulled back, the zip ties off the boots. I pulled them both back. I kind of want to see if I'm able to just get the one side off and maybe get this seal out. And I kind of don't want to take this off. I want to see if maybe the rod will go all the way through. If I only take maybe this top portion off. There are these grooves here, and the rest of the rack is smooth like this. So this will probably have to come off, but I don't want to take too much of this apart if I don't have to, and hopefully the whole rod will come out. But I'm gonna have to pause for today. I might come back, but I don't have the tool for that, so I'm gonna have to go home and go try to get a tool for that side. And then tomorrow I'm gonna have to go to Ace and then get the plugs for this. And there's 2 on this side too. There's one that's a little bit bigger, so I'll have to figure out what size that is. But yeah, the rest are all the same size. All right, I have no clue where I last left off, but I'm trying to get these inner tie rods off, and I've hammered back the washer here, the locking washer, whatever this is, whatever you want to call it. And I have no clue like how to get this off, because my adjustable wrench, my wrench is on there perfect, but there's nowhere, like they don't put anything on the rack for you to be able to put like another wrench on the rack. So I'm basically holding it with my foot, but this thing is so tight on there that literally no amount of hammering, I don't even know. I've tried everything to get this off, and every time I try to bend it, the whole rack moves around. Tried hammering it, the whole rack just moves. So I have no clue how to get this off. I ended up getting it off right after I recorded the last clip. I set my foot down on this, I guess your steering gearbox, and I took the hammer and I put it on the thing, and I lightly tapped it. I don't know how, but I lightly tapped it 3 times and it finally came loose. And I have no clue, maybe I tapped it earlier and it finally came loose before I stopped for a little bit. But yeah, you're gonna have this like this retaining thing here that you need like a tool for. The video I watched for a DSM, he said he used a cutoff wheel chuck. Anyways, this sits in here like that. You'll have to bottom this out, the steering rack, all the way that way, and it sits in there. It's got dimples. I took these like 45-degree angle pliers. You can find these anywhere, Harbor Freight in a set, or you can get some longer ones. These are like a couple bucks, but you could probably use normal needle noses. And I just put it in these 2 here on the same side, and then you just kind of spin it around, and you'll hear a click, and it comes from this window here. This will pop out. Once this pops out, spin it around the other way so that it like slides out like this, and then it'll get to the point where it's like this, and then you kind of just pull it out. Once that comes out, this comes out. Set that to the side. Don't side like me. So I realized that the whole rod will have to come out this way. So I'll have to get that side off too. You could probably do it, since you only need to do it on one side. You could probably use this without having to get the tie rod off on this side. So looks like I gotta take that side off. Then I have to take this off. Hopefully I don't have to take this fully apart. I really hope I don't have to, but because I kind of want to avoid that if I can. But once I get this apart, it'll be off of the ridges here, and it'll slide all the way through. But I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna take these 2 bolts off for the steering knuckle, and then I'll go ahead and pick back up after. Got everything apart here. So there's 2 12mm on the top. Underneath there's like almost like a freeze plug kind of. You'll have to take it off with a 15/16 socket here. So that came straight out. Then there is another bolt on here that goes right here. Let me find that bolt. Oh, it's in my impact. This is a 17mm bolt. So once you take that freeze plug off with the 15/16, then you take that 17mm bolt off, and you take those 2 12s on the top here, one there, one there. This thing will come straight out. Just pull it straight out, and there's no need to take off that freeze plug there, or whatever that plug is, which you have to get like a nut to put in there. It's like some obnoxiously big nut. As you guys can tell, it's a big nut, and then on top of the big nut you would have to put the size socket to get that off. But I don't have a really big nut like this, so good thing I didn't have to take it off. Once that comes off, the rack is pretty much ready to go after you get this and this off, like I showed in the last clip. Now when I pulled this out, it kind of just exploded. I'm not too sure how these are supposed to work. In the video I seen, this little washer here wasn't there, and this one also moves around. I'm not sure if this is supposed to move, and I'm not entirely sure everything that needs to come off. I think maybe this seal can stay, but this one needs to come off. I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, the whole thing is ready to come off. I'm actually gonna go ahead and pull it out. This is how the whole thing looks. So honestly, not a bad process getting it apart. If I was able to do it, I don't have that many tools. But yeah, I'm just gonna take this plastic thing off. Maybe somebody in the comments will let me know if I actually need some of this stuff. I'm not sure if you delete this. I'm pretty sure this is the only one you need to delete. I'm not even sure if this is supposed to move. I don't think this is supposed to move. I'm not entirely sure. But I know this is your seal that divides between the 2 ports here. So this power steering port pushes it this way. This power steering port pushes it this way. And this seal would be in between these 2. So this is the seal that drags is what you need to get rid of. And like I keep saying, I don't know. I have to look into this. I'm gonna look at a video and see this. And then, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take this home. I'm gonna angle grind this one off, and then I'll come back to the unit, hopefully get it back together. I'll update you guys when that happens. So I just realized something after looking at it a little bit longer. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut these seals out, because if you think about it, this metal piece here is what's stopping see, originally it would be like this. Your gear will be right here, your steering gear. And this here is what prevents it from the gear going all the way over. Well, not only this too, but I feel like if you turn the wheel hard enough, you would be able to like kind of mess something up. I feel like this, if you actually look in the housing here, the housing isn't all one size. Around here is where it stops, where it starts to get smaller, right? So this here will hit this first, preventing the rack from going further this way. So my idea is if I just take this seal off here, it'll prevent drag. So it'll prevent the drag of having power steering. And this seal here, and since we're not going to be having any fluid in here, I'm going to put grease in here, but you're not going to be having any fluid. There's no point in having this seal to seal the end of the rack from leaking fluid this way. So I'll go ahead and remove this seal, and I'll cut this seal out as well, and then I'll throw it back together. I'm going to go ahead and put this plastic piece back on like the way it was. It was like this, pretty sure, on there like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this piece back on, and then I'm basically gonna put it back together how it was. I'm gonna go ahead and buy the fittings to plug these off, just so you know what little, to prevent a little bit of moisture from getting in, but it'll all be greased up anyways, so it should be fine. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut those off now. Got those seals off. Let's see, this one here, I just rolled it off. This one's pretty good. So this definitely was creating some drag on this. I got that seal off. I don't know what happened to the white seal. Oh, the white seal's right here. This one is definitely very old. It's pretty brittle, so I don't think it was working that well. I mean, it's not breaking or anything, so I don't know. Maybe it was working, I don't know. But yeah, hopefully there is a pretty good difference. I'm gonna go ahead and use some brake disc grease that I have, wheel bearing disc brake grease. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grease up along the whole shaft here. I'm gonna grease up here, along all these, and just make sure it's nice and greased up. So unfortunately, I'm getting in trouble for working in the unit. I have a whole parts car here on jack stands, and I've been doing the rack, but apparently they've been seeing me for a while, so and they're just not having an issue for it. I have it basically put back together. Getting this in is fairly simple. You can definitely do it without having to take off the tie rod end on this side if you don't want to. But yeah, I just greased everything up. I put it back together without those seals. Getting the knuckle back in is fairly simple. I would put these in first. I was having an issue having this fully seat down, so I just hammered this like very lightly, tapped it in. It went fully in. Put these back in on the other side. That the nut that goes on this, you don't want it too tight because you want to be able to steer this. That basically controls how much slop is in there. Looking for my pliers. Oh, my pliers are over there. But anyways, you want to tighten it up and then go ahead and then spin this with like some pliers or something. Spin it around, make sure it feels nice and it's nice and smooth, not too much play, but not too hard to move around. You should be able to move it around with some pliers. Once you get that good, you can put that plug back on with the 15/16, put that plug back in there, and she's good to go on the rack side, or on the steering gearbox side. So now for me personally, I just put this bushing back on here. I've got another bushing somewhere, this one here. I've got this bushing here, and that goes on this side. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and run to the store. I have the AN lines in my car. I'm gonna run to the store. I'm gonna find, this size is bigger than the rest, so I have that line in my car. I'm gonna go ahead and match them up and get plugs for each of these. There's two here, one here, and then the two back there that are all the same size, and then this one here that's a bigger size. So I'm gonna get those plugs and I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna come back later when nobody's here and try to put the tie rod ends back on and basically get the rack completed. But I'm gonna pick back up when I get those plugs in. I went to Ace and I couldn't find anything that I needed. Honestly, all of the screws there are too long, and I don't want to ask them to cut it and then me put on the bag that is like 50 cents, because it's like $3 for one screw and I need 5 of them, and then I need one big one, and the one big one is like $4. So yeah, I'm not doing that. Anyways, I'm gonna try to figure out a way to get some screws to fit the rack. If not, I'm probably just gonna throw it in as is. It should be fine. I don't know. But yeah, this whole time I've been calling the steering thing, like whatever the fuck I've been calling it, it's a pinion. Before someone corrects me, yeah, I know what it is. It's a pinion. It's now Thursday. I have to get this video out by tomorrow, so I need to get done ASAP. I went ahead earlier today and bought the bolts that I needed. I still need one more bolt, but the smaller bolts on the rack are 14 by 1.5. So I bought 5 of those and they fit so far, but I'm gonna have to cut them down in length. I didn't have them cut down at Ace, so I'm just gonna put some tape on it and angle grind it. But I'm gonna go ahead and take everything home. I'm gonna show you what I have of the rack. I haven't done anything to it, but I'm gonna go ahead and take it home, put the rack together, and then I'm gonna swap it out at home. I'm just gonna leave that one bolt as is, or one hole, and I'm gonna get it done at a later date, probably like later tonight or tomorrow off camera. But I'll get you guys the thread pitch and size for that bigger bolt. I have everything thrown together. I put the plugs in, I shortened them down, and I have them all in here. Hopefully these don't hit on anything, I hope. And this one, I'm definitely gonna have to find something that's like pretty flush mount a plug for this, or get like something with a smaller head, because I don't know if I can fit a bigger bolt if the head is already sticking out pretty much on top of this. But yeah, this is the only thing that's open. I'm gonna leave it open. It should be fine, to be honest, because it's gonna be on the top and not on the bottom. These ones I definitely wanted to get plugged, and these two here. But I got the boots on and put the zip ties on, so everything is pretty much put together. Tie rod ends, the washers, I reused the old washers. They were fine, and I was able to hammer them back on pretty good. So yeah, so far it's definitely almost there, but I do have to go do a couple errands, so I'm not gonna be able to install this until tonight. But hopefully I can get some POV videos of the rack before tomorrow. There's a brace on the driver's side. You have to take out the brace. It's like 6 bolts. There's 2 in the front, and then there's like 4 or 5 in the back of it. Take all those bolts out, and the brace drops down, and then there's sway bar end links on either side. You gotta take off those 2 sway bar end links. Then there's a bolt that goes through the rear of the subframe for the control arm. You have to take the nut off and then hammer out the bolt so that the control arm is able to move. And then I think there's like 3 or 4 more bolts. There's one big bolt in the center of a bushing. You take that out, and then there's 2 smaller bolts to the left of it. You take that out, and then the sway bar should be able to drop down like this. Once you're able to get the sway bar like that, you can take loose not the sway bar. Once you're able to get the control arm like that, you're able to take loose the sway bar. And then after that, you can take loose the steering rack, and then you can shimmy out the steering rack. And then you gotta take both of the tie rods loose on the steering rack as well before you do that. But once you drop that control arm, it's pretty easy to get the steering rack off. There also, one more thing is the pinion. There's one like 12mm bolt that holds the steering shaft to the pinion. So you gotta take that one out too. But honestly, after all that's done, it should only take like an hour, but that's how you take off the steering rack. And then it comes out from this side. It's gonna come out like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it out and then compare the two. So I got it out. I ended up having to drop quite a bit to get it out. Oh shit, I'm breathing fluid everywhere. But yeah, it's out. It's pretty bad shape. The boots didn't even have zip ties on them, so I got these clamps here, which are pretty cool. But yeah, I don't think this rack has ever been serviced. The inner tie rods are not too bad. I'm gonna have to cut this off and reuse this, because the other one, I don't have the other piece of the other one, but it wasn't that bad of a job. It took about an hour. You do have to drop the downpipe. I didn't have to fully take it off, but I had to drop it so that it could lower the rack. You do have to take this brace off too, unfortunately. Yeah, you got to take this brace off so that you can get to the bolts on this side of the it's either on this side of the sway bar or the steering rack, or probably both, to be honest. But yeah, to get to the bolts, you're gonna have to take this part off, and you're gonna have to lower the downpipe to get the rack out. But everything else is as I said. Control arm is off over there, sway bar is down there. So I'm gonna compare the 2 racks real quick and see the difference while they're outside of the car. So I was a little doubtful at first if the depowered rack was gonna make a difference, but after pushing the tie rods back and forth, basically like spinning the rack, this one has a lot of like it's very like tough to do it by hand. I mean, you can do it, but it's pretty tough to do it. And that one is super smooth. Like, it's very easily, like, you're able to push in and out the rack very easily. And this one, like I said, this one is just very hard. You can feel the seals like gripping up on the inside of the housing. So all right, so it's the next day. I never really filmed like an outro. I didn't even film me after I got it in and everything. What happened, it wasn't really as like helpful as I thought it would be, but there are some like specific cases where the rack feels way better. So getting the rack back in the car after the last clip that I had recorded, getting the rack back in the car was super simple. It only took me like 30 minutes. I got everything put together, but one issue I had was getting the joint for like the steering shaft to hook up onto the pinion. And so basically I had to like hammer it down, and once I finally like hammered it down enough to fit the bolt to go through, the bolt wouldn't grab the threads on the other side. So I had a whole issue there, but my dad was able to help me out and he got it in like 5 minutes. So after that was done, I went around and drove it around, and there's not really much difference in terms of how much strength you need. It's a little better, like probably like 25% better to steer the car versus having just the looped lines. But the one thing that's different is there is no more like, for one, like there used to be like a dead spot in the center of the steering wheel before the steering would actually like turn the car. That dead spot has been reduced significantly. I would probably say like 75%. I only have to turn the wheel a little bit before it actually turns the car. So, and before it used to be like a lot. You used to have to turn the wheel quite a significant amount in order for the car to actually respond and turn. So you only have to turn the wheel just a little bit for the car to actually turn. So the dead spot has been reduced significantly. That is one thing I've noticed. And another thing too is before, the steering used to get like stuck. I don't know how to explain it, but like you used to like make like a U-turn, and when you let go of the wheel, usually the wheel is supposed to not slowly go back to the center, but like, you know, when you let go of the wheel, like the wheel goes back to the center. It never used to really do that before. Sometimes it would get stuck, and like you would always basically have to manually put the wheel back to the center. And now every time I make a U-turn or I make a turn and I let go of the wheel pretty much instantly goes back to the center. Another thing too is like there's more direct feedback throughout the through to the steering wheel. So before, on like turns, it was just kind of just hard to like turn the car, like turn the steering wheel. But now it's not like that anymore. You kind of like feel like the grip and the road like through the tires, through the steering. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. You kind of have to, if you've ever driven with a looped rack, it drives kind of like shit. Like it's not really a good driving experience, but after you do the Depower mod, it does bring back the feeling. So there is a couple pros to doing it. The only like real con is that it's just a lot of work, and the other con is that it doesn't significantly improve the amount of force you have to give. It's just kind of like an in-between. Like you get all of the feeling that you used to have with the power steering, but it's still hard. It's still going to be hard to steer the car no matter what. And I wasn't really expecting it to be like having power steering at all, but I was hoping it would be just slightly better than what it is. Do I recommend doing this mod? Probably not. It just depends. If you already have everything out, go ahead and do it. But if you're just had already planned on like fixing your power steering rack, like your leaks and whatnot, and you have it out, just fix the steering leaks, because it's really not going to help that much deleting power steering, and it's a lot of work. And then if you ever wanted it back, you're going to have to put back in the seals and stuff, take apart your rack. I'm going to wrap up the video here. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I've been talking about a project I've been working on, and the weather is finally nice, and my friends have some free time coming up, so that video is going to be wrapped up as well, and that'll be coming out next week on Friday for sure. This video is a little late, but so definitely subscribe and stay tuned for that. Drop a comment, let me know if you guys need any help doing this, or if you guys have any questions along the way. I didn't fully record everything, so just let me know, and be sure to drop a like on the video. So I'll see you guys in the next one.